Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 8, a description of the character of Bharat Maharaj. Although Bharat Maharaj, summary. Although Bharat Maharaj was very elevated, he fell down due to his attachment to a young deer. One day, after Bharat Maharaj had taken his bath as usual in the river Gandaki, and was chanting his mantra, he saw a pregnant deer come to the river to drink water. Suddenly, there could be heard the thundering roar of a lion, and the deer was so frightened that it immediately gave birth to its calf. It then crossed the river, but died immediately thereafter. Maharaj Bharata took compassion upon the motherless calf, rescued it from the water, took it to his ashrama, and cared for it affectionately. He gradually became attached to his young deer and always thought of it affectionately. As it grew up, it became Maharaj Bharata's constant companion, and he always took care of it. Gradually, he became so absorbed in thinking of this deer that his mind became agitated. As he became more attached to the deer, his devotional service slackened. Although he was able to give up his opulent kingdom, he became attached to the deer. Thus he fell down from his mystic yoga practice. Once when the deer was absent, Maharaj Bharata was so disturbed that he began to search for it. While searching and lamenting the deer's absence, Maharaj Bharata fell down and died. Because his mind was fully absorbed, thinking of the deer, he naturally took his next birth from the womb of a deer. However, because he was considerably advanced spiritually, he did not forget his past activities, even though he was in the body of a deer. He could understand how he had fallen down from his exalted position. And remembering this, he left his mother. Deer and again went to Pulaha Ashrama. He finally ended his fruitive activities in the form of a deer, and when he died, he was released from the deer's body. Text number 1. I'll read text number 1 to 7 by myself, up to 6 by myself, and 7th we will chant. Shri Shukha Uvacha Ekadatu Mahanadyam Krita Abhisheka Nayamika Avashyakaha Brahmaksharam Abhigrunanaha Muhurtatrayam Udakante Upavivesha. Sri Shukadev Goswami continued, My dear king, one day, after finishing his morning duties, evacuating, urinating, and bathing, Maharaj Bharata sat down on the bank of the river Gandaki for a few minutes and began chanting his mantra, beginning with Omkara. Text 2. Tatra tadha rajan harini pipasaya jalashaya abhyasam eka eva upajagama. O king, while Bharat Maharaj was sitting on the bank of that river, a doe, being very thirsty, came there to drink. Text 3. Taya pepiyamane udake tavat eva avidhurena nadataha mrugapatehe unnadaha lokabhayam kara udapatat. Translation. While the doe was drinking with great satisfaction, a lion, which was very close, roared very loudly. This was frightful to every living entity, and it was heard by the doe. Text 4. Tam upashrutya sa mrugavaduhu prakriti viklava chakita nirikshana api haribhaya abhinivesha vyagrahridaya pariplava drishtihi agatatrisha bhayat sahasa eva uchakrama. By nature, the doe was always afraid of being killed by others, and it was always looking about suspiciously. When it heard the lion's tumultuous roar, it became very agitated, looking here and there with disturbed eyes. The doe, although it had not fully satisfied itself by drinking water, suddenly leaped across the river. Text 5. Tasya upatantyaha antarvatnyaha urubhaya avaghalithaha yoni nirgataha garbhaha shrotasi nipapata. The doe was pregnant, and when it jumped out of fear, the baby deer fell from its womb into the flowing waters of the river. Short purport. There is every chance of a woman's having a miscarriage if she experiences some ecstatic emotion or is frightened. Pregnant women should therefore be spared of all these external influences. Text 6. Tat prasava utsarpana bhaya kedha atura swaganena vijugyamana kasyanchit daryam Krishna sarasati nipapata atha cha mamara. Being separated from its flock and distressed by its miscarriage, the black doe, having crossed the river, was very much distressed. Indeed, it fell down in a cave and died immediately. Text 7. Tam tu yena kunakam kripanam shrotasa anuhyamanam abhivikshya apavidham bandhu iva anukampaya rajarishi bharataha adaya mrutamatram iti ashramapadam anayat. Translation. The great king Bharata, while sitting on the bank of the river, saw the small deer, bereft of its mother, floating down the river. Seeing this, he felt great compassion. Like a sincere friend, he lifted the infant deer from the waves and, knowing it to be motherless, brought it to his ashrama. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The laws of nature work in subtle ways unknown to us. Maharaj Bharata was a great king, very advanced in devotional service. He had almost reached the point of loving service to the Supreme Lord. But even from that platform, he could fall down onto the material platform. In Bhagavad Gita, we are therefore warned. Yam hina vyatayantyete purusham purusharshabha samadhukka sukham dhiram somrudatvaya kalpate. O best among men, Arjuna, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both is certainly eligible for liberation. Spiritual salvation and liberation from material bondage must be worked out with great caution. Otherwise, a little discrepancy will cause one to fall down again into material existence. By studying the activities of Maharaj Bharata, we can learn the art of becoming completely freed from all material attachment. As it will be revealed in later verses, Bharat Maharaj had to accept the body of a deer due to being overly compassionate for this infant deer. We should be compassionate by raising one from the material platform to the spiritual platform. Otherwise, at any moment, our spiritual advancement may be spoiled, and we may fall down onto the material platform. Maharaj Bharata's compassion for the deer was the beginning of his fall down into the material world. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. So this chapter, called a description of the character of Bharat Maharaj, as we read in the summary by Srila Prabhupada, and in these verses describes what happened one day when Bharat Maharaj was on the banks of Gandaki river and doing his spiritual practices. And in the purport, Prabhupada begins by saying, the laws of nature work in subtle ways unknown to us. Kalena sarvatra gabhira ramhasa. This is a statement in the Bhagavatam. The movement of Kala is very subtle and very deep. How Kala unfolds different karmas to different people in our lives, in our different situations, This is very Gabhira Ramhasa, very grave progress, grave movement. And in this particular case, Maharaj Bharata, what happened to him? He had almost reached the point of loving service to the Supreme Lord. We saw in the previous verses that how his hairs were standing on end, and there were tears in his eyes. So he was an advanced devotee. And then, at a certain time, like this day, when he saw the young deer, motherless, picked up, brought the deer home, and to the ashrama padam anayat, he brought the baby deer and started looking after it and he was compassionate. Naturally, you can see a small baby getting washed away in the water. And Prabhupada has pointed out some interesting philosophical, spiritual principles here. But even from that platform, he had almost reached the point of loving service to the Supreme Lord. But even from that platform, he could fall down onto the material platform. So our existence truly, in truth, is spiritual platform, is on the spiritual platform. But due to identification with the body, we remain on a material platform. Our true existence is actually on a spiritual platform. It's a very nice way of Srila Prabhupada describing this material platform and a spiritual platform. We have a material body, we have a material mind, and the body has senses, and there are sense objects in the world, and senses desire to come in touch with the sense objects, and it creates a pleasure, and we continue to seek such pleasure and become attached to that pleasure, and that fastens us to the material platform. And it opens up a whole avenue of desires, aspirations, activities, and because of all that, the living entity becomes entangled and remains fastened to the material platform. As devotees, we should fear this. We should fear material existence. We should fear material entanglement. We should not think that, no, I am very strong. I've been practicing for so long. I can withstand anything, and I don't have to care about things about spiritual life. So this entire chapter of the Bhagavatam, preparing us to come to be on the spiritual platform in a steadfast manner, is giving this instruction. Even at an advanced stage, like Bharat Maharaj, if one is a little careless, if one is a little inattentive, one can fall down onto the material platform. And Prabhupada has quoted this nice verse from the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Actually, if you see in the Bhagavad Gita, straight away Krishna begins to explain about coming to the spiritual platform and not remaining on the material platform. What was the first instruction Krishna gave to Arjuna? Ashocyan anvashocastvam pragnavadhamscha bhashase gatasun agatasumscha nanushocanti panditaha. Krishna is saying, whether gatasun or agatasun. Asun means life. Gatasun means life gone. Agatasun means life not gone. Living or dead. Gatasuna gatasumscha nanushochanti panditaha. A learned person, pandita, does not lament. So, how can we be in that state? Only when we understand the reality of spiritual existence. We exist spiritually. We don't exist on our existence in the material platform is temporary, unreal, and it is created by Maya for a certain purpose. And that purpose is to give us an experience. And why is the Maya creating this experience for us? Because we wanted it. We wanted to experience what it is to be away from Krishna, forgetful of Krishna. Krishnam bahirmukha jiva nikatastha maya japati adhare. When we turn away from Krishna, this is the cause. So, Krishna, when Arjuna was perplexed about his duty on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Krishna presents right from the beginning the transcendental perspective of existence, about spiritual existence. That is why very quickly, na sato vidyate bhavo na bhavo vidyate sataha, Krishna begins to explain what is sat and what is asat, and how we should understand these things. So, from the beginning of the Gita, Krishna presents this viewpoint about coming to the spiritual platform and not remaining in the material platform. So this particular verse, Prabhupada that has quoted in the purport, Yam hi na vyathayanti ete purusham purusharshabha samadukha sukham dhiram somrutattvaya kalpate. It is talking about amrutattvaya kalpate. Saha amrutattvaya kalpate. Amrutattvaya kalpate. Mrita means death. Amrita means no death, not dying. So, kalpate, one is eligible for. Who is eligible for amrutattvaya kalpate? Amrutatva. Who is eligible for immortality? Krishna is describing. Samadukka sukham dhiram purusham na vyathayanti ethe somrutattvaya kalpate. Bharatar Purusharshabha. O great personality, O best among men, Arjuna, a person who is not disturbed So, Sukha and Dukkha come and go in this material world like waves, and we should not be disturbed by that. This is one who is not disturbed by Sukha and Dukkha and who is a Dhira. Dhira means, Prabhupada's another explanation, one who is not disturbed even in the presence of the provocation. See, when there is no provocation, there won't be disturbance. But even in the presence of a provocation, one who is not disturbed, such a person is Samadukka Sukham Dhiram. So, material life means to be attached and to material sense gratification, and with that comes a lot of activities, and with that comes attachment, and those objects of attachment and pleasure, they are not under our control. They are under higher laws. Sometimes they come, sometimes they go, and the life is full of ups and downs. Now, if a devotee is not disturbed by that, and he is focused on spiritual practice because he has made a determination that I must understand, I must rise to the spiritual platform, I am a spiritual being, I should exist spiritually, and so I should remain spiritually firm and strong. One who has made that determination, even when there is sukha, dukkha, he is not disturbed, not wavering. Na vyathanti also means not wavering. Sometimes when things are all going well, we like to practice spiritual life. When things are not going so well, we get disturbed. We get shaken whether I should continue my spiritual life or not. You see? I know one case of a devotee. He came to some disturbance, and then he said, later on he told me, he put 2 chits of paper. I should continue spiritual life, I should not continue spiritual life. He folded it and he said, he put it in front of Prabhupada, and he picked up a paper. Don't continue spiritual. And so he said, I discontinue. See, why we don't do such things? We are not supposed to do such things. Because spiritual life, as Prabhupada has taught, as Krishna has taught, we have to do it with intelligence, with understanding, not some kind of a sentimental way. Spiritual life is a voluntary, with a voluntary decision. It is not some kind of chance and something like that. We should understand who we are, what are we doing. So, when disturbances come, we should remain firm in our spiritual practice. That is the qualification. You see? O best among men, the person who is not disturbed by happiness and distress and is steady in both, sama dukkha sukham dhiram, is steady in both, is certainly eligible for liberation. Amrutatvaya kalpate. So this Bharata became disturbed. And Arjuna was also disturbed when he saw on the battlefield his teacher, his grandfather, his cousins, friends, people whom he had known for a long time, all his life. They have assembled, both on his side, on the other side. And if this war happens, so many people are going to die. He became disturbed. So, at that time, Krishna presented to him Arjuna's position, Krishna's position, the cosmic position, the material world position, and from that understanding, what Arjuna should do. That was the perspective that Krishna teaches. And that is the spiritual, how to remain on the spiritual platform, how to remain and maintain a spiritual vision always. And here in this verse, it is described anukampaya, out of compassion. Bharata felt compassion. So he brought the baby deer to his ashrama. And Prabhupada, towards the second part of the purport, end of the purport, Prabhupada is describing, it is not that compassion is bad. There is place for compassion in spiritual existence too. We should be compassionate by raising one from the material platform to the spiritual platform. Otherwise, at any moment, our spiritual advance may be spoiled and we may fall down onto the material platform. So, how compassion is applied, how the principle of compassion is applied in spiritual life, in Krishna consciousness, is trying to help people come to the spiritual platform and not remain on the material platform. This is our perspective of compassion. How we can bring everyone to a spiritual platform so that they are enlightened, they are aware of their existence, of their real situation, and how to help them remain on the spiritual platform. That is the way we express compassion. So, we must be compassionate, by raising one from the material platform to the spiritual platform. So, on the material platform, we try to help people with money, position, but none of those things will actually make us happy. And finally, we have to give everything up. That is why that statement is there. This material existence is described by the word pavarga. Pavarga means in Sanskrit alphabets, pa, pha, ba, bha, ma. That is called pavarga. There is kavarga, chavarga, tavarga, pavarga. So, pavarga means these set of 5 alphabets. And these alphabets represent 5 conditions of material existence which no one can escape, which one should recognize. The first pa stands for parabhava. Parabhava means everything in the material world is destined to be finished. Things deteriorate and dwindle and vanish. That is the nature of everything in this material world. Like our bodies, it will dwindle, it deteriorates, it ages, and finally we die and the body is disposed. So, or we accomplish something big in this life, and then after that it is taken away, and finally everything gets finished. All the hard work we have done and accomplished so many things. So, parabhava. And the second pa stands for pena, which means froth in the mouth, which means for achieving anything in this world, one has to work so hard. That's why we see the world, people working very hard. Pa, pa, ba stands for bandhana. Material world, material platform, activities on the material platform, the laws are such that it binds us, Any action we do, a reaction is created, and we are bound to experience that reaction. We cannot escape this. And bha refers to fear. The material world is always fear. And so to mitigate that fear, people build various systems to protect themselves, because that's the nature of material existence, bhaya. And ma is mrityu. Everything is ended with death. So these 5 alphabets representing these 5 words are the inescapable reality of material existence. And so material existence is described as pavarga. And spiritual existence is described as apavarga. So, in Krishna consciousness, we try to transcend from the pavarga platform to the apavarga platform. We wish to remain on the spiritual platform. And for remaining on the spiritual platform, one has to be very attentive about material existence, illusion, the power of illusion. That is the teaching that we learn from Bharat Maharaj's pastime, that how he had made significant advancement in spiritual life, and on this one count, he became compassionate to that animal and brought the baby deer home to the ashram, and he gradually became attached to it. And so much so that he became so attached, and at the time of his passing away, he was simply worried about the absence of the deer, and next life he had to become a deer. So Bhagavatam is actually training us, teaching us how to come to spiritual platform, so that we come to the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam, which can properly be understood and relished by remaining on the spiritual platform. Krishna's activities, birth are all divya. For us to understand and appreciate that, we also have to become divya. On a material platform, we will not be able to. We may be able to appreciate. That appreciation is described by Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur to licking the honey bottle from outside. Honey bottle is such that, when you lick from outside also, it will be little sweetness, will be something would have spilled out, and it will be taste sweet. But that is not the real sweetness of honey. If you open the cork and put a spoon, scoop out the honey and taste it, that is the real way to taste honey. So in our country especially, there is a certain awareness about Krishna, and people like Krishna and Krishna's Leela, they appreciate. But full appreciation of that is possible when we come to the spiritual platform. Prabhupada said, one example, once Prabhupada said, in India, people are 90% Krishna conscious. And so it is valuable. Prabhupada said, a dead elephant or a living elephant, both are valuable. Even a dead elephant is valuable because it has got ivory, it has got skin, it has got the hide, it can all be used. So in the same way, although the Vedic culture is more or less dead in India, but still it is valuable. It helps, it enables easily one can rise. So it is still valuable. This is the example Prabhupada gave. And so people may appreciate spiritual culture, temple, all these things. But like we all born in Hindu families, we also would appreciate. But now, after coming in touch with Srila Prabhupada, we now understand that we have to come to the spiritual platform of understanding everything in our life. Our existence is spiritual. We must try to appreciate that and understand that. And that's what Krishna consciousness is about. And Bhagavatam is gradually preparing us. What are all the pitfalls? What can happen? What happened in the case of Maharaj Bharata? So that we are always cautious. Now, one more practical step about this caution. We have to be careful. What does that mean? Prabhupada also explains that caution means we should always be praying to Guru, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and Krishna and Radharani. Always be praying. Prarthana koraye sadha narottama dasa. Narottam Das Thakur is giving an example that how we should be careful. Prarthana koraye. And when do we do prarthana? Sometime in the morning, sometime in the evening? No. Prarthana koraye sadha. Constantly being in that prayerful mood. Krishna, keep me in on the spiritual platform. Krishna, I want to be your servant. And all circumstances of material existence, I want to be in touch with you. I want to remember you. And this prayer, constant prayer, and a sincere prayer, because in Krishna consciousness, it has to be at a sincerity level. And what is this sincerity level? Krishna explains in the Gita, Yoginam api sarvesham madgatena antaratmana. Antaratmana madgatena, in the depth of our heart. Antaratmana. So, at our antaratma, is that calling out for Krishna happening? Is that prayer for Krishna happening? Because antaratmana madgatena. Madgatena means being devoted, fully devoted to Krishna. So, absorbed in Krishna. Is our antargatena at that level? Am I devoted to Krishna? So, as devotees, we should be constantly visiting our antaratma and be questioning and watching over whether I am wanting to be a devotee of Krishna. So, prarthana koraye sada, our antaratma should be praying that I want to be a devotee of Krishna. So, when circumstances come in our life, even as devotees, in our temple life also, sometimes when we are doing some services, some difficulties will come. Something will not go the way we want. We want to do in a certain way and something else is happening, or somebody tells us something, and there are innumerable opportunities to become disturbed. It is at that time we must visit our antaratma and ask, what do I want? Why I gave up my family, parents, home, material pursuit, everything. What did I do for? Just to win an argument or get something in a certain way or achieve something materially? Or it is for the purpose of matgaten antaratmana. So that is the prayer that we must be doing always. That prayerful mood at the antaratma level always is the one which will keep us on the spiritual platform. So Bhagavatam is preparing us for all these things. So how we learn the art of remembering Krishna always, being Krishna conscious always. Prabhupada said it is an art. And even while we are doing different duties, we should learn the art of being Krishna conscious. And that is the training Bhagavatam is giving through these instructions. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.